At a dental office in Athens, Ohio, roughly 75 miles southeast of Columbus, the waiting room is already full on the morning of December 30th, 2025. One patient has been sitting for over 15 minutes, then 20. There's a growing sense that something is not right. Dr. Spencer Tepe is supposed to be here by now. He always is. In all the years he has worked at this office, he has never failed to show up. Not once. His boss would later tell police that Spencer was exceptionally reliable, always on time, and would contact them if there were any issues. Phone calls are made. There is no answer. Then they try his wife, Monique. Her phone goes straight to voicemail. That is when concern turns into real fear. At 8:58 in the morning, Dr. Mark Valrose, the owner of Athens Dental Depot where Spencer works, calls the police from his vacation in Florida. He tells the dispatcher he is always on time, and he would contact us if there were any issues. I don't know how else to say this, but we are very, very concerned. This is very out of character for him. We can't get in touch with his wife, which is probably the more concerning thing. Police respond to the Tepe family home in the Wineland Park neighborhood of Columbus, just north of downtown. What they are about to discover will shock two states and raise difficult questions about domestic violence, obsession, and how the past can come back in the most devastating way imaginable. The first officer arrives at 9:22 in the morning to conduct a welfare check. Nobody answers the door. The officer reports that nothing seems amiss and leaves. It would later be revealed that this officer had gone to the wrong home. Spencer's colleagues and friends, increasingly worried, drive to the house themselves. Around 9:56 in the morning, one of them calls 911, saying he can hear children crying inside. "I can hear kids inside, and I swear I think I heard one yell," the caller says. "But we can't get in. At this point, I don't know if I need to break the door in to get in the house or what." 2 minutes later, another colleague calls 911 to say they have been unable to reach Spencer for about 3 hours. Then, at approximately 10:03 in the morning, a friend of Spencer's arrives at the house. What he finds is horrific. In a frantic 911 call, the friend can be heard saying, "Oh, there's a body, oh my God." Officers enter what is now clearly a crime scene. Spencer Tepe, 37 years old, has been shot multiple times. Monique Tepe, 39, has suffered a gunshot wound to her chest. Both are deceased. At 10:11 in the morning, medical personnel pronounce both victims dead at the scene, but incredibly, the couple's 2 young children, ages 1 and 4, are found safe inside the home, completely unharmed. Even the family dog has been left alive. Police determined the murders had taken place between 2 o'clock and 5 o'clock in the morning on the second floor of the home. There are no signs of forced entry. No weapon is recovered from the home. 3 9mm shell casings are found at the scene. What started as a wellness check has now become a major investigation into a double homicide. Spencer Tepe was a devoted father, a loving partner, and a friend to everyone he met. A graduate of Ohio State University with a degree in 2012, he went on to earn his Doctor of Dental Surgery degree from the same institution in 2017. He was a member of the American Dental Association and gave back to his community through Big Brothers Big Sisters. Those who knew him described him as intelligent, warm, and endlessly welcoming. He was fluent in Spanish and was a huge fan of the Cincinnati Bengals and Ohio State Buckeyes. Monique Tepe had a background in early childhood education and was described as a loving, patient, and joyful mother whose warmth defined her. She was an excellent baker, a thoughtful planner, and someone who found joy in bringing people together. Her kindness made people feel instantly at home. The couple had married in December 2020 in a ceremony held inside their very own home on North 4th Street. A wedding video shared by the family shows the then newlyweds embracing and laughing as friends and loved ones cheered them. They were just 1 month away from celebrating their 5th wedding anniversary when their lives were tragically cut short. Together, Spencer and Monique shared what their family described as a beautiful, strong, and deeply happy relationship. They loved to travel, to laugh, and to build a life rooted in love. They were proud parents of 2 beautiful children and their beloved golden doodle, and they created a home filled with warmth, happiness, and connection. Spencer's brother-in-law, Rob Misle, told reporters they were extraordinary people whose lives were filled with love, joy, and deep connection to others. They lived for their children. Their lives became about their children and sharing their children with all of us and just loving them. But Monique had a past that would come back to haunt her in the most unimaginable way. Years before Monique married Spencer, she had been married to a man named Michael David McKee. McKee, born and raised in Ohio, had attended Ohio State University beginning in September 2005, the same semester that Monique Sabaturski, as she was known then, enrolled. Both graduated with bachelor's degrees in June 2009. McKee went on to medical school at Ohio State University, graduating in 2014. He completed an internship at the Ohio State University Wexner Medical Center starting that same year. In 2020, he completed his residency at the Carilion Clinic in Virginia Tech. Later that year, he began a fellowship in vascular surgery at the University of Maryland Medical Center, which he completed in 2022. In August 2015, when Monique was 28 years old, she married McKee. The marriage was brief and troubled. Court records show they lived together for only about 7 months before Monique left. She filed for divorce in June 2017, citing incompatibility. By the time the divorce was finalized about a month later, they were already living in separate states. McKee was in Roanoke, Virginia, completing his medical residency, while Monique had moved on with her life. The couple had no children together. While court records indicated the split was amicable, family members later revealed a darker truth. They said McKee had been emotionally abusive during their short marriage, and that Monique had to leave the relationship abruptly because she was so concerned for her safety. Spencer's brother-in-law, Rob Misle, would later tell reporters, "He was an emotionally abusive person when they were together. That is all I know." The family quickly believed McKee had something to do with the murders because of the emotional abuse Monique had suffered during their marriage. By late 2025, McKee was working as a vascular surgeon at OSF St. Anthony Medical Center in Rockford, Illinois, about 90 miles west of Chicago. He lived in Chicago's Lincoln Park neighborhood. His medical licenses in Illinois and California showed no disciplinary history. His criminal record showed only traffic violations. He also held a medical license in Nevada, which had expired in June 2025. To the outside world, he appeared successful and stable, but there were troubling signs beneath the surface. McKee was facing a medical malpractice lawsuit in Nevada. According to court documents from Clark County, Nevada, a patient had undergone treatment for lower extremity venous insufficiency at Las Vegas Surgical Associates on July 5, 2023. The lawsuit alleged that during a laser procedure, an 8-inch piece of plastic catheter or device had sheared off and was left inside the patient's body. The patient had to be taken by ambulance to an acute care hospital for emergency surgery to retrieve the device. Even more troubling, the lawyer handling the case spent months trying to track down McKee to serve him with legal papers. What he discovered was alarming. The addresses and phone numbers associated with McKee turned out to be fake or disconnected. When the process server tried to contact McKee's former colleagues in October 2025, one colleague said he had no idea where McKee was. The colleague said McKee had simply disappeared. This pattern of disappearing would become critically important. The investigation into the murders of Spencer and Monique Tepe moved quickly. On January 6, 2026, 1 week after the murders, Columbus police released surveillance footage showing a person of interest walking in an alley near the Tepe's home. The video showed an individual wearing a dark hoodie, walking with his head down, moving south through the alley toward the Tepe's garage and residence. The footage was taken during the time frame investigators believed the couple was killed. Columbus Police Chief Elaine Bryant described the killings as a targeted attack that was domestic violence related. Importantly, police had no previous reports or calls involving McKee at the Tepe home. But detectives had something crucial beyond the surveillance video. License plate reader data and surveillance technology tracked a vehicle registered to McKee traveling roughly 325 miles from Rockford, Illinois to Columbus, arriving shortly before the killings and departing soon afterward. Think about that for a moment. 325 miles. That is approximately a 5-hour drive each way. 10 hours total on the road. 10 hours to think. 10 hours to reconsider. 10 hours to turn around. But according to police, McKee made that journey with deadly intent. Chief Bryant stated, "We can say that we have the suspect's vehicle on neighborhood video surveillance arriving just before the murders and leaving shortly after. Detectives were able to link this vehicle to McKee. The vehicle was traced back to Rockford, Illinois, where McKee worked as a surgeon. On January 10th, 2026, 11 days after the murders, agents from the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives arrested McKee without incident. He was taken into custody just after 9:30 in the morning at a Chick-fil-A restaurant in Rockford, not far from his workplace. During searches of McKee's properties in Chicago, multiple firearms were seized, and here is the crucial evidence. Preliminary ballistic analysis through the National Integrated Ballistic Information Network linked one of those weapons to the 3 9mm shell casings recovered from the Tepe residence. We believe at this point we have the person responsible for the murders of Monique and Spencer Tepe, and that person is Michael McKee," Chief Bryant announced at a press conference. She added that while she could not speak to all details related to the case, they did not want to jeopardize the ultimate goal of conviction. On January 16, 2026, a Franklin County grand jury returned a formal indictment against Michael McKee. The charges were devastating. McKee faces 4 counts of aggravated murder and 1 count of aggravated burglary. 2 of the murder charges include specifications for prior calculation and design. 2 include specifications for murder committed during the course of an aggravated burglary. The indictment specifically states that a silencer was used in the shootings, making the case eligible for the death penalty. All 4 murder charges include a 3-year firearm specification for using a gun to commit aggravated murder and a 6-year firearm specification for using a firearm suppressor. If convicted, McKee faces a minimum life sentence with the possibility of parole after 32 years, or up to life in prison without parole eligibility. When McKee appeared in court in Illinois on January 12, 2026, the hearing lasted just a few minutes. His public defender told the judge that McKee planned to plead not guilty and that he was exercising his right to remain silent. McKee waived his right to fight extradition and agreed to a speedy return to Ohio to face the charges. On Tuesday, January 21, 2026, McKee was extradited from Illinois to Ohio and booked into the Franklin County Jail. He is scheduled to be arraigned on Friday, January 24, 2026. McKee has retained Diane Monash, a well-known Columbus defense attorney who previously represented Dr. William Hussel. Hussel was found not guilty in 2022 on 14 murder charges related to allegations of overprescribing fentanyl to critically ill patients at Mount Carmel West Hospital. Monash filed her official notice of appearance on January 22nd. She's declined to comment on McKee's case. The prosecution will be led by Franklin County Prosecutor Shayla Favor, along with 2 other attorneys. The family of Spencer and Monique released a heartbreaking statement. "Today's arrest represents an important step toward justice for Monique and Spencer. Nothing can undo the devastating loss of 2 lives taken far too soon." They thanked law enforcement for their tireless work and asked for privacy as they care for the 2 children left behind. Spencer's brother-in-law, Rob Misla, told reporters, "We just want justice. We want this person that took so much from not just this family, but so many more people. Obviously the kids, we want this person to pay for what they did." More than 1,000 people attended the joint celebration of life ceremony for Spencer and Monique, making it the largest funeral the Schrodinger Northwest Funeral Home had ever seen. The line was out the door as friends, family, colleagues, and community members came to pay their respects. A GoFundMe created to support the Tepe's children has raised over $170,000, demonstrating the outpouring of support from the community. As of now, Michael McKee sits in the Franklin County Jail awaiting arraignment. Under our legal system, he is presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. But the evidence prosecutors say they have gathered against him appears substantial. Ballistic analysis linking a weapon to the crime scene, surveillance footage, vehicle tracking data across multiple states showing a 325-mile journey from Illinois to Columbus, and the absence of forced entry, suggesting the individual who committed these acts may have been let inside. This case raises profound and difficult questions. Questions about domestic violence and how its effects can linger for years, even a decade after a relationship ends. Questions about obsession, control, and the lengths to which some individuals will allegedly go when they cannot accept that someone has moved on. Monique had moved on. She had found love again with Spencer. She had built a new life, had 2 beautiful children, and was 1 month away from celebrating 5 years of marriage to a man who loved her. But according to investigators, her past came back in the worst possible way imaginable. Spencer was simply a man who loved his wife and wanted to build a family with her. A dedicated professional who never missed work, who cared deeply about his patients, who was involved in his community through organizations like Big Brothers Big Sisters. He did nothing wrong except fall in love with a woman who deserved happiness. 2 innocent people are gone. 2 small children, ages 1 and 4, have lost both of their parents in one horrific act. They will grow up with the weight of this tragedy, raised by family members who are themselves grieving an unimaginable loss. The legal process will now unfold. A jury will eventually hear the evidence and make a decision about Michael McKee's guilt or innocence. Lawyers will argue over forensic evidence, surveillance footage, and the question of motive. The wheels of justice will turn as they must in a system built on the presumption of innocence. But regardless of the outcome in court, this tragedy has already left permanent scars on everyone involved. A family has been shattered, a community has been shaken, and we are all left to grapple with the sobering reality that sometimes the greatest danger comes not from strangers, but from people we once knew, people who refuse to let go of the past. Spencer's brother-in-law, Rob Misley, perhaps said it best. This person didn't just take 2 lives. They took a son and a daughter, a brother and a sister, an aunt and an uncle. They were 2 beautiful souls who were just wonderful parents. For Spencer and Monique Tepe, December 30th, 2025, should have been just another ordinary day. Instead, it became the day their lives were cut short, their children were orphaned, and their story became a stark reminder of the devastating toll of domestic violence. This is a developing story, and we will continue to follow it closely as the legal proceedings move forward. The case is far from over, and we'll be here to bring you every confirmed development as it unfolds. Subscribe, share, and follow for more in-depth true crime stories that expose the darkest truths.